Welcome to our discussion of how to make Havdalah. If we think about it, how do you end Shabbat? When you start Shabbat, you say, thank God, He's the one who sanctifies Shabbat. You praise Shabbat. You talk about how Shabbat is the first of all the holidays. It's mentioned before Pesach, Shavuos, or Sukkos, or even Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. But how do you end it? So the rabbis came up with a brilliant idea, and that is that you should remember it when it goes out by acknowledging that there's a difference between a holy day and a weekday. Just that cognition, that awareness that there's a difference between holy and profane. There's a Havdalah, there's a difference between Kodesh, holiness, and Chol, the unsacred. This itself constitutes the end of Shabbat. We do it in the prayers, say it during the Amidah. We can do it by simply reciting Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol, blessed is the one who distinguishes between holiness and the profane. But the rabbi said you should also say it over a cup of wine. So the rabbis instituted 4 elements. Number 1, a cup of wine. Why wine? Perhaps you should remember it as the Shabbat comes in with wine, and remember it as it goes out with wine. According to the Rambam, Maimonides, it's a Torah law to do this. Others say, whereas Kiddush may be a Torah law, Havdalah is a rabbinic conception. We tend to use wine. Wine is celebratory. It helps us remember. It helps us feel better, to console us as Shabbat goes away. But you can also use other Chamar Medina, a drink of the community. Now, whether that word drink implies Chamar, implies like a beer or something intoxicating, it's a matter of dispute. The Salvajic family, they maintain that it should be either beer or something of a local drink, if it's not going to be wine or grape juice. However, others say that as long as it's a local drink, that would be something you would give to a guest, a milk, a tea, coffee, and these types of things that you would give to a guest. Orange juice perhaps would be sufficient. I would recommend to use either wine or grape juice or beer. What about schnapps, the real alcoholic beverages? That's fine, but then if you want to fill up a whole cup, you should have at least 3.3 ounces in a cup to be a proper cup. If you're using just a little shot glass, that's a leniency and that's a question. Second element the rabbis said is that you should use some type of samim, some sort of spices. The spices are to revive our soul. The rabbis say that on Shabbat we have an extra soul, neshama yetera. So on Shabbat we feel good. After Shabbat we lose one soul, and we want to console our other soul to make ourselves feel better after Shabbat's over. So we smell something, it revives us, it makes us feel better. Third element is ner, is the candle. We remember these 4 elements by yayin, bisamim, ner, and havdalah. It spells the Hebrew word or Hebrew city, Yavneh, or Yibaneh, let it be built. And so that's yayin, wine, the bisamim, spices, and then ner, the candle. We usually use a special Havdalah candle, which you can purchase online or go to your local Jewish bookstore, and it has a twisted top, so that it's really several candles, and it creates not one candle like the Friday night candles, but rather it creates, as we'll see in a moment, more of a torch. And the rabbi said it's a mitzvah to use a torch. If you can't, if you just have one candle, it's fine. Otherwise, you take 2 candles, put them together, or this special twisted Havdalah candle, which allows you to have several torches, a real torch, several wicks at the same time. And why is this? Because the rabbis say that on Saturday night, it was the first night of existence, and Adam looked around and he said, the world is so dark, what's going on? And he was able to create fire for the first time. And therefore, we remember this act of creation every Saturday night. When we look at the candle, we often look at our fingernails as well. Why the fingernails? So there's an idea that we're supposed to look at a coin. The Havdalah candle should be useful. We should be able to use the candle. So if you have a coin, you could look at a coin, but the custom is to look at the fingernails. They're white, they're distinct from the rest of the hand, And then we can say, yes, I use this Havdalah candle to help illuminate something for me. We also have a custom to put them together and put them out. And I heard from Rabbi Pelkowitz, my rabbi in New York, who said that we start the week, perhaps we feel we're uneven. Some are up and some are down. That's the nature of the economic world. It's not communism here. But in the end, we hope we're all equal. We remain equal. We really are equal. Our fingers remain the same level. Some people, particularly Sephardic Jews, instead of using the besamim of various types of peppercorns and things like that, they use something left over from a mitzvah. After all, on Sukkot we have these hadassim. They tend to last. If you break a hadass leaf, if you keep it in the refrigerator in a bag, you should be able to maintain the scent, and then you can smell it, and therefore you're connecting the mitzvos of the high holidays with every single Shabbat. And there you would make atzei besamim, a bracha on the branches of besamim rather than the minei besamim. The Mishnah Berurah for some reason says that we can't keep track of these things. You should just make minei besamim on any sort of spices. Finally, we're going to make those blessings of Havdalah, of distinction. And the rabbis say, don't just say, blessed is the one who distinguishes between the holy and the profane. You should elaborate. And you should mention at least, the rabbis say, 3 distinctions. So we say, Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, between holy and profane. Ben or l'choshech, that's between light and darkness. Ben Yisrael la'amim, between the Jewish people and nations of the world. And then, even though we only need 3, we have 4. Ben Yom HaShvi l'sheshet me'amaseh, between the 6 days of work and the 7th day of holiness. And then we bless God who makes this distinction, who gives us the wisdom to know the difference between holy and profane. There is a difference. You should feel the difference between Shabbat and the weekday. When the Havdalah is over, many people have a custom to pour out some wine. Because the Talmud says that any house where you have wine poured out, must be a lot of blessing. It must have a lot of wine, a lot of wealth that you can afford to do that. And it's a sign for good blessing. Some say that's why we look at our fingernails too, because they're growing. Fingernails is the only part of the body that kind of visibly grows like that. We're hoping that everything, our families, everything should continue to grow. Our business, everything should grow. When we pour it out, sometimes people put out the candle with the poured out wine or grape juice. And the idea is that we want to show that this candle was not for general use, but just for this special mitzvah. And some people take the wine and touch it with the fingers and put it in their pockets, put it on their eyes. This just show how much we love the mitzvos. And it's hopefully a good sign for blessing on our pockets, blessing and our wealth for the week. Because after all, we're starting to think on Saturday night about making a living, getting back to work, which is also, according to Rabbi Yehuda Anasi in the Midrash Haggadah, it's a mitzvah to work too. It's a mitzvah to go out and do our labor for 6 days. This time we'll prepare ourselves to make the actual Havdalah. Not doing this on Saturday night, so we're not going to say Hashem's name, we'll just say Hashem rather than the actual name of God, and that will suffice. We begin by lighting the Havdalah candle. There it is, the avuka. The flames will hopefully merge into one torch of sorts. And we begin by holding the besamim in one hand and the wine in the right hand, if that's your preferred hand. We begin with some verses of consolation. God is my consoler. God will bring goodness and joy. We hope for good things for the week. We hope for redemption. The rabbis say that Mashiach, the Redeemer, will not come on Shabbat, so maybe he could come during the week, and this would be a good time for Elijah the prophet. And some sing songs of Elijah the prophet and other beautiful songs after the Havdalah as well. So we begin. This tune is a tune I learned from my shamash in my shul, in the White Shul in Far Rockaway, Rabbi Safsky. Hine el Yeshuati evtach v'lo evchad ki yahazi v'zimratya adonai v'yili l'Yeshua ushavtem mayim b'sason ma'nei Yeshua Adimai Yeshua Lamacha, B'chatach Sela. Adimai Tzvot Imanu, Miskavlanu, Hayakov Sela. Adimai Tzvot Ashri Adam, Oteach Bach. Adimai Yoshia, Melech Anenu, V'yom Koreinu. Congregation says, Adimai Ta'u Rav Simcha V'zason V'ikar Kein Tielanu. So the Jews in the days of Esther had joy and gladness, so may it be for us. Usually try to have the Kiddush cup, the Havdalah cup, the same level as your heart. So look inside the cup. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei marei ha'esh. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol ben or lechoshech ben Yisrael la'amim ben yom ha'shvi'i l'sheshet yimei ha'maseh. Baruch atah Hashem Hamavdil in Kodesh Lechol. Now we try to keep our hands on the various mitzvos during this time. Pour it out and some put it inside the grape juice, the wine. So during the Kiddush, during the Havdalah, we try to hold the Havdalah with the right hand, this with the left. Then when we're making the blessing on the spices, we try to hold the Kiddush cup with the left and smell with the right. Then as we switch to the third bracha, we hold the Havdalah candle and in the left and the Kiddush cup in the right. That's Havdalah. With that, the Shabbat concludes. With that, you have acknowledged the difference between profane and the holy. We know the difference. You feel the difference. You feel the difference during the day. You can't work. Now we open our hands as a symbol, perhaps, that now our hands are open, ready to go back to work. We don't loathe the weekday, but sometimes we're nervous, we're worried about the weekday. And the Havdalah service reflects that sort of consolation as we're getting ready to go back into that world of work. It's a brilliant ceremony to end the day, and with that we can proceed. The Havdalah you make either a one-liner, Baruch HaMavdi ben Kodesh L'chol, or that in the prayers and the tefillah. That Havdalah allows you to work, but this Havdalah is what allows you to eat. We don't eat before the Havdalah. This drinking inaugurates all the eatings and drinkings throughout the week. Let's hope that as we make a Havdalah, as we make this distinction, we understand the difference between holy and profane. We can enjoy the profane, enjoy the world around us, but also appreciate those things that are different, those things that are holy. Let's hope that as the spices should revive us, let's hope that prayer that we make should come true, that just like the Jews in the days of old, the days of Esther, had Orav, Simcha, V'Sason, they had light, they had joy, they had Torah, they had blessing, they had tefillin, they had the aura of Torah. Kein Tielanu, so should it be for us as well. Thanks for joining us here at the Anshe Sfard Beth Lemeth congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee, for our discussion of Havdalah. Join us each week for discussions of the Parsha and the various how-to videos. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.